Welcome back, everybody, to day number 4 of Raging Reveals, where every single day we're going to be going over all of the announcement and reveals for Leagues 5 as we count up to the launch date. Yesterday was an incredible day where we had all of the Echo bosses and all of the Echo rewards announced, and that will surely set the stage for all of your planning moving forward. However, we're back today with another reveal. Coming to Leagues 5, you'll be able to access the Arcane Grimoire. This will allow you to freely access any of the spell books, and you'll also be able to use any of the spells regardless of area, quest, or diary requirements. The Grimoire will also function as a Book of the Dead, so you'll be able to summon Thralls, and you will also unlock all of the prayers without any region requirements. So yeah, Kandarin's definitely been taken out back this Leagues. Hopefully our redemption comes soon enough. So there it is, the Arcane Grimoire. Not only will you be able to swap between all the spellbooks, but you'll also have access to all the prayers and all of the spells, regardless of any requirements. So for example, this will function as the Book of the Dead, right? But you will also be able to summon Thralls, even if you're not in Zeah, because you won't have to have completed a Kingdom Divided to actually have access to all of those spells. Same thing with the Lunar Spellbook. There's a bunch locked behind the Fremennik diary. You'll have access to all of those with this relic. So I don't think you need too much information about this Grimoire. It pretty much functions exactly like it says it does. Once again, you'll be able to swap between spell books, access the Book of the Dead, and you have access to all the prayers and spells, right? Pretty straightforward. So on a surface level, this is probably the most straightforward relic we've gotten, but I think that this is one of the coolest relics in how it changes your region planning and allows you some kind of new options that really haven't been explored yet. I ranked Ruinous Powers in Leagues 4 incredibly high because I think that giving you access to powerful prayers without necessarily requiring the regions to get them, so for example, not having to go to Kandarin to get Piety, and instead getting a melee prayer from Ruinous Powers. I always loved that because I thought that that was a really cool way to open up options, still give you access to the really strong prayers, without necessarily dictating what regions you want to go to actually go ahead and get those. So I'm really happy to see this come back where you'll have access to those prayers without necessarily having to go to like Zeah and doing Chambers of Zarek. You also will probably be able to get these prayers a lot earlier than you might actually, have the kind of power level to start farming raids and actually getting the drop. But I think another really cool part about this relic that we have not seen yet is actually giving you access to all of the spells in the entire game. Now, we have seen the Arcane Grimoire that allows you to swap between spell books, but it was still restricted to whatever, regions you had access to. If you didn't have the desert, you couldn't cast Ancient Magicks. If you didn't have the Fremennik, you couldn't cast Lunar Magicks. Now you'll literally get all 4 of the spellbooks completely unlocked. You won't have to do any kind of quest, any kind of diary restriction, and of course, no area restrictions there to block access to those spellbooks. I think by far the most obvious benefit here is the ability to get Ancient Magicks without necessarily needing to go for the desert region. Ancient Magicks are just so strong, and in my opinion, they're one of the biggest benefits that the desert has right now. The ability to get incredible magic experience by bursting and barraging Slayer tasks, as well as freezes, blood barrage to lifesteal. Like, there's a lot going in that spellbook. And I really feel like bypassing that requirement, and maybe now you're choosing to go Mauritania, and you could still get Ancient Magicks to barrage the Nilo's room. Something like that would actually be really fun and really cool to use, even if you're not necessarily like going for like a mage setup. If that's not kind of like the style that you want to play, well, you could still be the major in your Theater of Blood team without having to go for the desert and kind of devoting your entire build around that. I'm also so excited that you'll have access to Vengeance as well. It's one of my favorite spells to use in seasonal modes because I think that when you're that strong, you can kind of afford to just take massive hits and really try to squeak out as much damage as possible. And of course, Thralls from Zeah are always going to be a nice supplemental DPS to add to your build. Now, I do want to say that technically you won't have access to all of the spells, as I don't think think this will allow you to use a spell to teleport somewhere where you're not supposed to. Like, I don't think you'll be able to like Camelot teleport if you don't have Kandarin, but I think I'm just being nitpicky there. You still have access to it, you just can't use it. Either way, I really love this relic. I've been kind of hoping that we get something like Ruinous Powers to come back, or just some option to allow you to get all of the prayers without having to go for those respective regions. And this kind of solves that problem and more with opening up Ancient Magicks and stuff like that. I've always loved relics that are a little bit more simple, but have a lot of impact on your decision making and open up the flexibility of what kind of region and what kind of selections you want to go with. I already know that a lot of people in Mauritania are going to be looking at this, combined with the new Gloves of the Damned that allow RMs to cast Ancient Magicks, and you get a damage bonus on top of that. I just feel like those will naturally pair off really well. You'll still be able to do Theater of Blood in the Nilo's room. And obviously, we gotta talk about how every melee user is probably so happy that they don't even really have to consider going Kandarin at this point, because you can just get Piety from this. Man, Kandarin is so down bad right now. I don't know how we recover from this one, guys. We're gonna need something strong coming out in the next couple of days to really to give Kandarin even like a fighting chance this league, because it is not looking good. Now, one thing I've really wanted to do is kind of discuss how some of these relics change kind of my plans and what I've been thinking of. Personally, I've really started to lean towards Zeah because I think it is such a powerful region. And with this relic in mind, you know, obviously we have no idea what it's up against. I kind of feel like I'm not considering Zeah as much anymore, just because I don't really need the 2 prayers that you get from Karen. And instead, I might go for Mauritania, because I do think that having someone who can barrage in Theater of Blood is going to be a lot of help. Finally, I want to speculate a bit, and that's that this is something that I would typically expect to be part of like the mage relic if we had a specific combat style. So it's a little bit funny now after seeing Golden God, which gives you a bunch of magic experience, and now Grimoire, which kind of is a very magic-based relic. I'm a little confused on what the combat relics are eventually going to look like. Now, we are going to get 1 tier of combat relics this year, and the rest are all going to be in combat masteries. So I really don't know how things are going to shake up. I kind of wish we got to see them or have a little sneak peek, but this is making me think that perhaps the combat styles aren't going to be as dictated this year. Regardless, I still like having these kind of quality of life relics. I really have no idea what this could be up against. I think my gut reaction kind of points to something like it could compete with like the Slayer relic or the Clue relic, other quality of life relics that just kind of open up some of the game for you. But we'll have to see. Again, really hard to rate any relic without seeing the other options that you're competing against as well. I think that's about it for this relic. Again, not too much to digest with this relic, but it does have a lot of implications for your region selection moving forward. And I think that this is definitely something you're going to want to keep in mind, that you can bypass some of the requirements. I've really wanted to like sit down and share my plans, and then every single morning there's just something new that comes out that makes me rethink it. So that surely that video will come out soon, right? Let me know how you're feeling about the Arcane Grimoire. Let me know if maybe you're dropping Karen now, because again, you'll get all the mega rares from a different raid instead. If anybody is still going Kandarin at this point, please let us know. All right, we will send help, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a good one.